Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. And I want to kind of talk about my thoughts and some my experiences when it comes to um, racial matters. And I don't know. I want to try to do this in one video. I made a series of videos, crappy Vietnam War stories, in which you'll hear me talk about some of the racial stuff that was going on at the time. And so I made some videos about it where I go into a little more detail. But anyway, I say I'm half Chinese and half American. And back in the 50s, I don't know. I was, single digit, 8, 9 years old, something like that. I turned 10, right around the 60. And so, but I know in the 60s, uh, racism was very active, very active. And I mean, a lot of racial problems. And the thing is, uh, I don't, like I said, I don't really want to talk a lot about it because one thing I learned, and this is what I've learned, is uh, the less talk about racial, uh, there's a chance for healing. And the more talk about racial, racial stuff, then people get an attitude. And once they get this attitude, you're not going to get any headway. This is why I was against hate crimes and all this kind of stuff. You know, life, you have to learn to deal with life. And when you're looking for excuses for life not to do good, then you end up whining. And then when you start whining, it makes you look weak. And you're going to be victimized when you're weak. And I'm not even, that's not even racial. I mean, this is just something in general. In business, that's the first thing you learn. You act weak, you're gonna get devoured. Like I say, I've owned businesses all my life, and if I allowed the government to come in and just start pushing me around and just doing all kinds of weird stuff, there's no way you'd survive. You have to stand strong. So, I mean, it applies in life. Now, what happens when the racial stuff, they start whining, well, if this is racial, you need to do something. Somebody do something. That's because these people are too weak to do of their own. And that's why it's better when you don't talk about it. But you do. I'm not saying you don't do anything about it. I'm just saying don't talk. Just find out what you can do to make it better for you. You can't. It's nice to, oh, those poor minorities. I mean, that's nice. I mean, go in the mirror and you can say that and feel good about yourself. But in reality, that doesn't get results. So the way to get results is you do something about it. Change things, figure out the rules, how it works, and you'll figure something out. If not, you're just one of the weak ones, and there's nothing wrong with being one of the weak ones. I mean, right now, look around, you see all the people with the masks, you're looking at the weak ones. I mean, no, that not really. But in general, that's a good sign. But like I say, some people truly believe that mask is going to help them. So but the ones that don't, they don't know and they're going to wear it, they're the weak ones. So, but this is what I'm saying. You have to learn the rules. Now, the thing is, I say when I went to Vietnam, I was 18 years old, and it's been in '67 when I went there, and the racial stuff was really blazing. I mean, it was the stuff that you see now, the riots and the protests and stuff. This pales to what was going on at that time. The violence was just super tremendous. And got to remember, this is before the internet. Now, if something happens, that one thing gets everybody's attention. Way back then, this stuff was happening all over, I mean, it was really, really bad. Some people could say law enforcement at that time was corrupt and weak because a lot of stuff kind of just went right on. But to be a little honest with you, in what they did, I didn't realize it because my biggest racial fighting that I had to do was mainly probably about 13, 14 years old. And it was very intense. And most of the time, they didn't kill you when you got into these confrontations. Yeah, most of the time they didn't kill you. But that doesn't mean that they weren't all like that. And we're not talking, I am talking, you had whites doing this against blacks, and you had blacks doing this against whites. You didn't have Chinese doing it against anybody, but you had everybody coming up against the Chinese. And so I had to learn early on that I'm going to have to deal with this. And I never did run to the policeman and say, "Oh, Mr. Policeman, please walk me to school, walk me from class to class." I didn't do that. I didn't ask them to. Now there was points my last year of schooling where I did have police watching over me. It wasn't my request. They knew that there's going to be riots because of me, and that's why. Now, this was in Topeka, Kansas, and you're thinking, well, Topeka, Kansas isn't a racial thing. There's, let's see, I think it was Brown versus the Topeka Board of Education. And that was at that time, well, that was in the 50s, I think is when that was. But that's because Topeka was one of the last segregated school systems in the United States. So you had the black schools and then you had the white schools. I went through the white schools. And so I had to deal with the whites all the time. And then when I wasn't dealing with them, then, we'd go to basketball games and stuff like that, where there's mixed schools. And then I'd go to schools that are mixed or black schools, and then I got to deal with them. And because nobody liked the Chinaman. And this was back before Bruce Lee. So it was a difficult time. I'm going to have to make another video on this because I'm not going to get to the point that I wanted to get to. So this Mike, NoStressMike.com.